Very excited to see this.
Yeah, it's going to be
We've been working months on this one.
months intermittently, yeah. Okay, so here it is.
First off, Dennis Burgener,
Yes.
architect, designer, investor. What else do you want to add to it? GC. What else can we add to that?
GC that doesn't do construction.
Yes.
Manages.
This is a personal project of yours.
Yep.
It's a studio. It's so well laid out. There's so many good finishes, and we're walking through this because who better to sell it but you yourself? So can you explain what we did right when you walked in?
Sure. Most studios are just, you walk in and you're slammed right into the space. Usually you see the bed, you know, maybe there's a hallway that's really narrow with closet doors all over. The idea here was to create more than a studio out of a studio. So when you come in, there's actually a entry foyer, and also it's functional in other ways. It's meant to be a dressing area too. So when you walk in, the first image is it's open versus closed.
And you have this view. I mean, the first thing is bam, right? Smack. That's where my eyes gravitate.
Well, that was a part of the design and why this is framed out versus just wide open.
Okay.
Most
so you
studios,
framed this out right here.
all this is framed out. This soffit is framed out intentionally to be a drop over the counter and over the dressing area, or the drawers for the dressing area. But yeah, the view is the one reason I bought the place.
Treetops. It's absolutely
It's a
beautiful.
treetop view. It's over the lake and over the park, forever protected.
Yeah.
You know.
And right now, you know, you can see that blue statue out there, and it
Yeah.
almost is like a focal point in the very distance, but that's how far you can see out to it.
Yeah, yeah. It's as beautiful in the winter as it is in the summer, actually.
Yes, I agree with that, because then when it's winter and there's no trees or there's no leaves on the trees, you can see all the way out.
Yeah.
So it really opens up the view, and right now you have this treetop. I feel like I'm in a neighborhood view, even though I'm in the sky.
And you hear the people talking
Yes.
outside, and you can see the buildings along the shoreline looking up if you go over a little bit. It's really a critical element, I think, in how you do a studio too. If you can bring the outside in,
I like that.
and make the feeling of the studio not just, okay, there's windows on that one narrow wall at the end of the studio. If you can feel like you're a part of the view and the view's a part of the unit, it's considerably, I think, a better way to go.
So what did you do right on this top here?
So all this is new.
Okay.
When you walked in originally, you were just slammed into the whole space.
Was this like a coat closet?
There was nothing here.
Nothing here, okay.
This wall just turned and went that way. And I wanted to create a sense of space before you actually came into the home. And a home that has a sequence of spaces as you enter it. And so this was meant to be an important space when you first walk in, not just a coat closet and a narrow little hall. It was meant to be more than that. But then it was functionally supposed to be more. If you come in here, this is a combination of things. It's definitely the closet, of course. It's dressing area. That's all a part of the dressing, almost like if you had a dresser in your space.
That's what I love about this. For me, this is what everyone needs in their home, but they try to find a piece of furniture to accommodate this. You've built it in. You even did the furniture front, which I didn't know about. You taught me about that. The furniture front right here. And then you have these great drawers that hold everything you need.
Junk.
Yeah, right? And then on top of it, you have an outlet
But there's
here.
clothes. There are clothes in here. I mean, there's other.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so these are deeper down here.
They're deeper drawers down below intentionally so you can put more things in. But to really be a dresser.
Yes.
A dresser right off the dressing room, because most of the time the foyer and other bigger units too, it just never gets used.
Yes.
You walk in and you walk out, you grab your coat out of the coat closet and you go. This has now become a functional space for the unit every morning, every evening when the person's getting ready.
And I love the mirror here. You have the lights illuminating down. You have the satin finish on this quartz, which is beautiful. I've never seen this before until you did it, but it has a matte finish, right? Is maybe the best way to describe it. It really sets it off. It's not too shiny. You notice it after you notice it. You know, you see this and it all works so well together, but then when you spend a little more time here, you're like, wait, this isn't just normal stone. And I love these thick pools you did.
Well, it's a play on the polished versus the matte.
Okay.
You'll see that throughout the home here. Like I have matte brass in a number of lighting areas, but then I also have polished nickel for all the cabinet pulls, the door hardware, even the pulls for the curtain.
Yes, these were great. You said these took 12 weeks to come in?
Yeah, yeah.
Polished nickel's always been one of my favorite finishes. It's what I did in my bathroom at home, and it seems the richest to me. And in the Gold Coast here, I feel like it captures the Gold Coast feeling and vibe. And now that matte brass has become popular, that does too. It has another rich feeling to bring into the whole orchestra of finishes, colors, everything that's going on, all the textures.
Well, it used to be you'd just do one finish throughout of the metal, and not anymore. It's really become a way to design a softness into a certain area. Like if you do the matte brass in a certain area, I think it feels a little softer and a little less glam than polished nickel.
From an architectural and design standpoint, do you remember when that transition happened, when that became more acceptable to use metals? More metals, different metals?
It's probably been happening for 5 years at least.
So relatively recent then.
But you wouldn't think to do it. The cool thing here is you wouldn't think to do it in a studio when you only have one room.
Yeah.
I mean,
one box
how many metals are you going to put in one room and have it still come off like it was meant to be? But I also picked areas where I only wanted the polished nickel, just on the poles, for example, and where I only wanted the satin brass, only on the light fixtures. So there's a reason. It's not just, okay, let's put some of this metal here and some of that metal there. It was really meant to work functionally with a reason for why it was really placed where it was.
I have a question. You did doors here, which is very clean, and then you did curtains right here, and then you did curtains in the bedroom area, which we'll show later. How did you make that decision and why?
Most studios, because they're small, they have a tremendous amount of doors versus a bigger unit. So one reason I didn't want a bunch of doors, I wanted this to feel open and connected. This was a door.
This is a door right here?
I took the door off. I took the frame, left the frame, but I took the door and the hinges and everything off and just recased it so it felt like this opening here that does have the doors.
Yes. And so this has that same case. So you added this one, so this wasn't there.
Right.
But this has the door frame that's metal, but the wood outside of it, which really blends it all in.
And if you look going this way visually, everything is lined up. The door heads that are cased are lined up. And if you come in here and you look back this way, at the ceiling openings that I dropped, those line up. So there's a rationale, and this drop here lines up with the drop over the door.
Yeah, everything's one line.
If it's just drywall wrapped, there's a specific reason why it's a certain height. If it's a cased opening or a door opening, it's wrapped at a certain height, but they relate to each other. So you see that connection and you see this connection. And it helps going the other way. It kind of carries your eye out toward the lake view too.
That's a great point.
Come back here and you see things, it kind of takes your eye toward the lake view.
And the art even helps with that, just bringing you straight there.
Yeah. And the light fixtures too, they're all clear. Even the bulbs are clear. They're a filament type bulb. And so I didn't want to obstruct the view any more than minimally I needed to put light over the table.
I love that you didn't use Edison bulbs there, because
yeah.
I felt like you didn't want to take away from it, right? Like you just, the point is not the light bulb. We're not trying to focus on the light bulb. Notice the light fixture, but look to the view.
Look through it.
Yes.
Yeah, look through it.
I like that thought.
It's an element along the way of the view.
An element along the way of the view. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So then dressing area in here, again, this could also be if somebody was paying their bills or on the internet doing whatever, they could work here. It's meant to be a desk for that sort of thing, but also it could be a makeup desk.
And we have Marilyn right here just
you got
for that
Marilyn
purpose.
saying hello every morning and evening. This too, you'll see, like the area rug ties in with the rugs out there.
I didn't even think about the rugs.
There's a connection. Like this is a more important rug because this is your entry. So this should have a little bit more importance to it. But then the others, in order to still connect the different spaces and also give a sense that, okay, this is an area, it's not just one big open space. This is an area that connects to that area, and it also suggests, okay, that's the living room. This is the dressing room.
So the rug helps define the space, essentially. Okay.
Yep. Then in the bathrooms, always small in the studio. It's always small in a 1-bedroom too. But in here, I wanted to give as much space as possible, and I could not get rid of the flush valve toilet. And I really don't like flush valve toilets.
Let's show what you're talking about here.
What I did
this reminds everyone of their high school or the school they grew up in, the gym they currently work out at, the office building they work out of, and they're efficient. It's a good machine, but aesthetically, it's terrible, right?
And who wants to reach their hand in there and grab that every time and flush it? I mean, so I had to live with that, but I didn't want to see it. And there's some shelves coming in here too, so you can put cleaning stuff. You can use stuff in there that maybe you would normally put underneath your vanity cabinet.
So you're able to create storage in addition to it. So it served two purposes. One thing, it's aesthetically beautiful, but it also has the pragmatism of storage and the added ability.
Yep. And it also lets me extend the counter, lets me run the mirror full width, so I could, again, open this small room as much as possible. And you can flush the toilet by pushing a little button.
That's one of my favorite features.
Yeah. And then here, you'll see as we go into the kitchen, and even with the dressing room dresser a little bit, these door styles start to repeat themselves. Like this is a full height door. A typical vanity, even in this cabinet line, would have a false panel running across the front.
Got it.
And may have a couple little 5-inch wide drawers in it that are not really very usable. I wanted it to be as clean as possible so that this related to that and it relates to the rest of the unit. So in here, I always detail things like this where you can go to Container Store or wherever, buy whatever you want. I mean, Container Store makes some really cool
it's perfect for stuff like this.
Yes. And it's perfect for stuff like this. And
they're always on sale. There's always a sale.
They're always on sale. And when you close the doors, it's a very clean look.
Yes.
So.
How about the shower?
Shower, nothing special other than I put a Simple Human thing here where you could do a lot of features with that. I did redo all the tile. The tub, I went back and forth. Should I keep the tub or should I take it out and put a shower in?
Yeah.
And I thought in the end, well, some people may want to just sit in the tub. So it's an element. It's a good feature.
And if you're a woman, now you can shave your legs. It does offer you more flexibility, and you can still shower. As opposed to a stand-up shower, while it might be more aesthetically pleasing to some, it halves the functionality.
Yep. And the other thing I didn't like, and it's not just a studio, but I don't like sitting on the toilet getting ready in the morning. So behind you, I did, instead of putting a chair here, I put a bench here so that you can pull this out and you can sit here getting ready.
Nice.
Versus sitting on a toilet seat getting ready.
So you have two functions of that chair. Get ready, do your bills, do your makeup, whatever you need to. It's your sitting bench when you're getting ready.
Yeah, and this one, it's got storage if you need it.
Oh, that's so cool.
So, again, trying to be as efficient as possible.
The studio is really about that, and this isn't our first project together, and you've always been good at this. You really utilize all that storage. I mean, even this piece of furniture right here, it's very vertical. It's an IKEA piece, I think, right?
Yeah.
It's straightforward, but what else do you need? And this is a very good thing for the space, and I like how it breaks up your closet.
Yeah, that was the intent, so that these don't have to be closed all the time. You could leave this here, and like if you come and go, okay, I got to get my hat and gloves and stuff, okay, there they are. Grab your coat and you go. It's very functional as far as use. The reason I didn't put doors here is, and this comes from a lot of studios where they just have door after door. You'd be fighting a door every time you wanted to get anything. Here I can get my coat very easily. I can, like I said, get my scarf or my hat. This is so much easier, and it's softer when you walk in and you look in here. It's like, this doesn't really look, it looks like it could be a dressing room.
Yeah.
But it really is just the hall to the bath. I mean, that's really all it is, but if you do a little bit of work to it, you can make it feel like so much more. It's really...
you can always tell the thought you have and everything.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the bathroom real quick.
Okay, yep.
So with switch rolls,
okay,
you did these nice large format tiles. They're square. I think they're perfect. You did a stacked pattern instead of staggering them. Now, you have a Schluter strip right at the end there?
I do, yes.
And so I've noticed this in your other project too. You always keep the Schluter strip going up and have it meet the wood.
Yes.
And it seems like it's a great way to make this transition.
Well, usually I flush it out and I don't even need the transition. I don't need this piece.
Yes.
But I couldn't raise the floor enough in here to get up to that height without totally screwing up the entry door and other doors. But typically I'd like that as flush as possible. So I just had the flooring guy, or the carpenters, miter a piece of the flooring and turn it to the direction of the door.
It'll fit in perfectly.
And then it's a perfect finish.
You run into this problem all the time in condos because these bathrooms are higher than the main level. Why is that?
Because in the old days they used to use a mortar bed.
What's a mortar bed?
Mortar bed is 3/4 of an inch thick or more, and it's dry pack mortar. And they did that over the top of the concrete slabs because they knew a lot of the slabs in these condominium towers aren't level.
Okay.
And so it was one way to level out and give a nice clean floor.
Oh, so it was
very level floor for the tile work. But also in the old days they used to do mortar bed tile all the time. They never did thin set because it was a much more substantial feel and higher quality.
Wow.
Now everything is thin set.
Well, that would add so much cost and height that you have to deal with. I had no idea. So how long have you been using thin set?
Oh, I bet 40 years.
40 years?
Yeah.
Before that, they'd create that mortar bed for all the tiled surfaces.
Even the wall tile. When you
Even
see
the wall tile?
when you see the wall tile and you have this bullnose up at the top when
Yeah.
it's like a wainscot, that bullnose in the old days would have been an inch thick.
I had no idea.
Because there's a whole layer of mortar underneath the face of that tile that runs to the floor below that bullnose.
That's amazing. So much work they used to do, and now you don't.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can flush things out a little bit easier now. But there's also problems with using large format tile, not necessarily in condominiums where it's a concrete structure, but in residential construction where it's plywood subfloor typically, or OSB. If you don't specify the right deflection requirements, it's going to crack.
You got to talk to me like I'm stupid. What's the deflection?
How much a structural member will bend
Okay.
without
so
breaking.
that's the
or
give
anything.
in the floor, essentially? Is that a deflection?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And every floor is going to have some give if it's made of natural material
This
like
floor,
wood.
it's concrete.
Even concrete.
It has some give, but it's so much less than wood.
Uh-huh.
But you can really specify the right structural members where wood is very stiff. And usually, if you don't do that for floors and bathrooms, you're going to have a problem with any large format tile.
So eventually it's just going to crack, right?
Right. If it doesn't, the grout will.
Okay.
Because it'll move at the weak point, which is the grout.
So you were talking about the flooring and how you had the carpenter make that transition there. Let's talk about this flooring because I liked it since the first day I saw it.
Yeah.
I love how you're keeping on trend. We were in a single family home earlier today, had light floors, beautiful floors, looked so fantastic. And they were kind of this shade where you're not dark, you're not too light. You're somewhere in between where no matter what you like, I think you're gonna like this.
Right. Well, it's a wide plank too. It's 8.25 inches, and it's a more natural finish. If you look at the sheen of it, which how shiny it is, if you look at a typical hardwood floor that has a polyurethane sheen on it, even some of the matte sheens, all they look like is just shiny at the end. This is even at the end, you can still tell, you can still see the grain in the wood, and you can still see that it is a wide plank floor.
You can see
that's
it.
intentional.
At any level I'm at, you can see it.
And that's the quality of the finish that's on it. And again, that gets back to why this is a matte sheen on the counter. You know, I wanted a very, not a shiny feel to things, because I think it's a little richer if you can see the grain of the wood without knowing that there's a layer of shiny something over the top of it. The same with the stone, even though it's not a natural stone, to have it feel like that when you touch it.
That matte or muted finish seems to be a richer, softer, gentler, more inviting feeling, as opposed to something that's shiny. It can be extravagant. It can be almost feel like too much sometimes.
Right. Well, all design is getting away from the shiny look, except for gloss cabinets. A lot of people still like spraying the cabinets a super high gloss. But as far as the material that you walk on, that you're touching all the time, there's a warmth to it if it's not a polished finish that I think is visceral to people. They actually, they know that that's a warmer piece of material and it makes them feel a little more comfortable. They probably don't know it, but the space feels more comfortable to them and they can't really say why.
I've always said that's what design is. Design is, you don't know or understand, but you know it is what it is. And the designer had all these things thought out, but when someone actually walks in, they don't understand why they're having the feeling they do, but they know it's there and they're impressed.
Yeah, well, that's the whole, if you can pull it off, that's really good design. If you can make people feel like this wasn't a studio when they came in, that it felt more comfortable than a studio. To me, it's like a, you know how they would say a junior one bedroom for some small, very small one bedrooms. This is like a bed alcove studio or something. I don't know what it is, but it's meant to be not just a studio. It's meant to have that feel. And as we go through there, you'll see what I mean too, as you come into the living area.
Show us more.
So in here, the living area is combined intentionally. I took a wall out that was here. There was a heating unit here. I took all that out so that the kitchen, the dining, the living area would be pushed close to the windows and all connected. So you can easily move between all of the three. I put the dining table intentionally at the window. It's a great place to read in the morning with a cup of coffee, and in the evening it's pretty special too.
I see one bedrooms all the time where you can't even fit a dining room table in, and you've been able to do it here where it's not obstructing at all. It works completely. And I even like how you put the chairs on the opposite sides. So it's like, okay, I'm inviting, come on in. I can sit this way. Maybe you'll sit that way. We'll hang out. You can sit on the couch. I still see everything that's going on. The space feels so large every time you do that.
You can look out the window and see the boathouse down that way. You can see the lake, of course, and you can see everything in the park. So to have that be up close to the window and make it feel like a part of the room versus just windows at the end of the room and your living space. Most studios, the kitchen will be when you first walk in. Kitchen will be there and closet on the other side. Then almost everyone puts a little table right next to the kitchen. You don't get the opportunity to sit at the window.
Yes.
And then either a bed or a small sofa or something.
I feel like the bed's usually by the window.
So this is intentionally, right. Sometimes people even put the bed by the window, which I don't understand, because most of the time when you're in the unit, you're not in bed. I mean, you want to enjoy the space and the view the whole day if you can. So that was the idea here. Bring these functional areas closer to the window, but also make them all connected and also make them feel like they're not in the bedroom.
I see two thermostats, one here, one there. What's that about?
Well, this window faces north, and it's very cold here, of course, in the winter, so I heated the floor underneath this tile at the window, and this thermostat controls the floor heat, so that even if it's 0 out, you can dial up the heat in the floor, and you have a warmth right at your legs.
So it's supplementary heat in case you need it, just there for those purposes. You're probably only going to use this in the winter, like you said, and maybe if you're just sitting here. And how many people would think of this? This is why I love working with you. I don't know anyone that would have thought about this, but it's so smart to do. And you don't have that ugly radiator type thing that's popping out. You just did radiant heat through the tile. It works perfectly.
Now, it's not meant to heat the space. It's just to warm the floor. And then that warmth is going to radiate up and counteract the cold draft that's going to drop off the glass.
So that's the science behind it.
Like you can walk on that in the middle of the winter and feel pretty warm because it's warm on your feet.
I have the same thing in my bathroom. When I come home from a cold day, I go straight to the bathroom when my shoes are off. I'm like, okay, let me sit here and warm up a little bit. So I remember this came out and you moved this to the wall. This must have been a big endeavor, a large feat for this unit. What happened here? What's involved?
Well, the building provides the cooling and heating through pipes and a wall behind this. Those pipes ran to a floor-mounted heating unit here where they'd put a half wall up and then a little counter on it. And so the only way to get from the other area into the kitchen was to walk around by the window and come in. And I wanted to open all this up and connect it. And so I knew they made a fan coil. This is called a vertical fan coil.
Okay.
And the other one is just a horizontal or a floor mounted or a low boy.
And this is what you would see in a condo today if they were building.
Really?
This is exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
So you didn't just update the finishes, you updated the unit.
Right. All the systems in the unit are new. So this, again, it provides the heating and the cooling. That's the stat for it. And it totally gave me probably 4 feet or more of space here that I could give as a connection between the rooms.
It's the only way you got this table here. It's the only
way I got the table here.
It would feel completely different if you didn't go that extra mile to remove or replace the heating coil and go with the vertical as opposed to that horizontal unit.
Yes. And I wanted the window, which opens into the kitchen essentially. The whole group of windows opens all the way into the kitchen here. I wanted the room to open up with respect to the window too, so that other half wall and counter and the unit closed it off so much it didn't feel like, it felt like it was a separate space and there was no relationship to the room other than the windows. And so now the windows feel a part of really everything.
Makes a lot of sense.
That was the thought.
Let's go through this.
Okay.
I'm gonna stand here just because it's a studio.
The other idea on this was I knew how deep it was, so I wanted it to come out to the face of the cabinets. And so then there would be I could make it as efficient as far as flow if I did that. So that's the other reason I put this unit in. And then I just did cabinets. Again, you can see they're full height doors, very much like the bathroom doors, and a bank of drawers, and then uppers. I went with a 2-foot wide cooktop and range, which means you can't put, in our country easily, you can't put a microwave over it that's vented. So I chose not to do that. Instead, detailed the microwave in with the upper cabinets and just put a hood here because I didn't want to not be able to at least catch the steam and everything coming off the stove. And so that's the reason why the microwave is over there. To me, it's more functional and it's out of the way if somebody's cooking here or whatever and somebody else wanted to do something, warm something up or whatever, it's out of their way too.
I have to admit, when you were designing this and I saw this layout, I didn't know how that was gonna look and I was skeptical. And seeing the finished product now, it's perfect. It works much better. I can't stand the microwave over the stove. I feel like it's a cheap option. It's just simple, straightforward. It doesn't have that custom feel. This feels custom. And talking about custom, let's look at this backsplash. What is this?
I wanted to bring in...
not to interrupt you, but I saw it from here the whole time, and now I'm looking at it like this, and it's a different color. So the lighting really has a lot to do with what color this is, so it makes it almost iridescent. Sorry, go ahead.
What you're seeing is some of the pieces, it's glass, and some of it is matte, and some of it is shiny.
Okay.
Or a polished finish on the glass. And so to me, that kind of picked up on the idea of the polished nickel and the matte brass. But also I wanted to introduce some colors that were what you see outside, and like the lake and some of the greens or the gray greens at least. And I wanted a little bit of detail, but I'm not really a fan of the concrete, very striking black and white patterns that are out there. I wanted it to be more subtle and relate to the kind of some of the subtle details I'm doing elsewhere. But yeah, it's a beautiful tile, and I'm glad I did it. You know, I think it does come off really nicely.
It does. I never saw it in that different light. Do you recall where this is from?
Artistic tile.
Artistic tile.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is a glass tile.
And you show how this actually works, because look, you have a coffee maker here, you have a toaster. This functions the way everything you need. And if you're looking at this at home and you see, hey, this is a smaller range, well, yeah, it's a smaller unit, and your point's very valid. So we lost 6 inches, right?
All right, just 3 inches on each side.
3 inches on each side. It's this. Yeah. In terms of burners, you have all the full burners. You have 4 burners. They just really economized it, because I guess, you know, how often are you going to be cooking a turkey, right? This is more for pizzas and things like that.
People don't cook much anymore, so it needs to look good as much as it needs to be functional, I think.
I like that. The aesthetics are just as important as the practicality and the functionality.
But to get that, sometimes you have to pay more money just to get something.
This is more than a normal.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Because 30 inches is the only thing 99% of the people put in.
I think it's because there's so much competition. They're competing less, so there's less companies that make the smaller one, and
yeah,
therefore
it's on volume.
It rises the price.
Yep.
So I love this hair fridge too.
Again, to relate to some of the cabinetry where it's a French door type versus the, just a full door.
And these open right on the same line, don't they?
They open on the same line.
That's
yes.
beautiful.
The other thing I did, and most people don't want to do it, but to me, if you're trying to make the kitchen and the living area and the dining area all feel connected, the kitchen has to look as good as the rest of the rooms. And so I don't really like a lot of appliances.
Yeah.
And so the dishwasher is here.
Again, with the smaller appliance.
It's a smaller one, but for a person that's living here, or even a couple that's living here, a young couple, easily enough room to do probably 10, 12 sets.
We're Americans. We think everything should be bigger.
Right.
And it should.
Well, and to me, it's very important, first of all, that you don't see it, because you're in the living room and it's part of the living room. And that it relates to the same size. It's the same size as the cabinet that the sink's under.
Okay.
So I wanted those doors, as I have a number of paired doors going on, even the bathroom vanity. I wanted this to look somewhat like that and feel as finished as possible.
You're right. From here, they open together. They're the exact same size.
Yep.
Wow, it's really sharp. So we have a bedroom here too.
I do have a bed alcove.
A bed alcove, yeah.
Bed alcove. And so the intent on this was to make it, again, almost like a secondary living space where you could have like a day bed, essentially, where you could even study on it. You could lounge on it. You can still see the TV. You could have a group of people over here, and some of them are milling around, and they're like a lot of sectionals they'll make now, where the ottoman part of it will tuck right up to the sectional, and it makes something very similar to that. And so I wrapped the headboard all the way around.
And so you made custom furniture for this?
Yes.
Yeah.
The headboards wrap all the way around, and then I opened it up just so you could kind of get a sense of how it would feel as a bed or as just an additional lounging area. And the reason I didn't want it to be just a bed, because of the functionality, but also I don't really want to see a bed. Like, I wouldn't have the white pillows out. It would be tucked in.
Okay.
If I had guests over, it would be tucked in, and it'd be just like another secondary lounging space in here.
Oh, that's smart. I didn't even think about that. Okay, so you would remove the bed element, keep the throw pillows, remove the sleeping pillows, and then you're just hanging out here. It's just, you're over there, I'm over here, and we're in the same space all of a sudden.
Yeah, you got a couple people talking over here, you got the whole group going over here, you got a game on TV or something.
And I see this dimmer.
Oh yeah.
That's nice.
Everything's on a dimmer.
Every single light.
Every single light, yeah. These are on a dimmer, you can bring these down too.
You're right, you can completely set the mood here.
Yeah. The ones even out here over the counter, you can turn those down.
And I like this light fixture. It fits really well. We were talking about the matte brass. This really is that complete element. And it feels a little mid-century modern to me, but only this and those lights hold that element. Did you do that intentionally?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the building is one of the few vintage buildings where they've kept the lobby, and it's really pretty much how it was in 1960. And so I wanted to at least have some, not really physical elements, but some thought that I was not totally disrespecting that.
So it's kind of an homage to the original developer and architects.
A little bit.
I like that.
Yeah.
What else do we miss?
Let's see. Well, the sectional, obviously, the main living area, this part, this, again, where you could sit anywhere in here and you've got a view of the lake. You're connected with the kitchen, you're connected with the dining area, you're even connected with the alcove. When you've got people over here, you could have a dozen people in here and it probably would not feel jammed.
We were in a couple studios yesterday and they were modern, just built, brand new, not even lived in yet. And this lays out so much better, and you couldn't even fit a couch in one of them. They put like this two-seater in front of the bed. This is a sectional in a studio.
Right. It's 103, 103-inch sectional.
103 inches,
Each way.
which some people might not be able to fit this in their one bedroom. It would make the room too tight and cramped. And it really shows you how much has been thought about and how you've worked the space, because this isn't just a studio. This is a home in the sky that has options on how you live with it. And whether you were living here full time or this was just an in-town, you could do anything you wanted.
Well, think of if you were looking for a one bedroom. Somebody was looking for a one bedroom. What happens to the bedroom area? People only use it to sleep there.
Yes.
At the most, maybe they'll try to jam a desk in there and try to study in there or something.
And then they have another wall of doors with their closets.
And they have another wall of doors and closet. So if you, let's say you wanted to try to not spend as much, but you still wanted a one bedroom or at least a close feeling of that. That's what this studio was supposed to do.
Okay.
It was supposed to feel like you have a space where there isn't just a bed right next to you, where that cabinet over there can be a part of this room, even though it could also be a nightstand for the bed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the way this is arranged too, if people were over here and sitting and talking, the bed would kind of go away.
It already has. I already forgot about the bed. We're talking about it, and it's behind me. It's gone. And I'm in your living room, and also in your dining room. We're also in the kitchen, but none of it feels that way.
Right, right. And you've got the view right in front of you.
The view is so important. If you didn't have this wall of windows, I don't think it would feel the same way.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. The more glass you can have, the better. But people ruin how they lay out the space, especially in studios, how they lay out the space. And then the window is just happens to be on one wall in a part of the space. This is meant to be this is supposed to be as much a part of the space as the dining table or the kitchen cabinets or this sectional. The whole view is supposed to be a whole.
It's the focal point. It's the center of the room. It's really gravitating everyone towards that. And it's the first thing I noticed. And then I noticed Maryland, and then I look around and I'm like, wow, detail, detail, detail everywhere.
Yeah. Well, I like to put the color on the walls with the art. I don't typically be a more muted wall, more muted base, more muted cabinets. Let the backsplash do a little bit of pop and let the artwork do the rest. Or vases and other art that I've collected over the years.
The design's very clean. You're not trying to show anything off. You're trying to have lots of good elements, but you notice some, we're over here, we're talking about them because we're trying to sell this unit. But if you were just sitting in this room, you'd be like, oh, the lights, and oh, the backsplash, and oh, the hardware on the door. Let's talk about that door hardware.
And
so how did you decide on that?
Well, I had originally selected the cabinet pulls
and
polished nickel. I went back and forth about if they should be polished nickel or not. I also wanted them, if you notice, they all are attached on the center of either the top or the bottom of the door, depending on if it's upper or lower. I didn't want to put them like in the corner of a paired door.
I'm so glad you mentioned that.
I wanted them intentionally. That's a design element to me. And if you can make them relate to each other throughout the whole kitchen and the bath and all the other locations of the dresser, there's that connection of all those pieces. You can tell somebody thought about that. Not only did they think about it, but it also feels like the whole space seems more connected, because now there's not just, okay, there's knobs for the doors and there's pulls for the drawers, and it's a simple piece that connects every door and every drawer in the space, whether you're in the bathroom, whether you're in the foyer, or whether you're in the kitchen. And to me, that's also a bit of that's very important in how space feels. But anyway, those were my first thing. And then after I found those, I wanted to do a square or rectangular escutcheon on the back of the...
What's that word?
The escutcheon is the plate that fits against the door. That's going to be the word today.
Every time we hang out, I learn new words from Dennis. Do you know how to spell that?
E-S-C-U-T, escutcheon, C-H-E-O-N.
That sounds familiar.
Escutcheon.
Escutcheon. And what is that one more time?
It's the back plate on doors, on the hardware of the doors, the handle of the doors. And it's typically round, which is a rose or a rosette, depending on who's talking about it. And because of the pulls, they're all rectangular, I wanted to do the same thing on the door hardware. And so even the the hinges. I knew the hinges would be exposed on those doors because they open out. I ordered polished nickel hinges too, because the typical hinge isn't polished nickel when you order that from any cabinet or door supplier. And so those, but they also have a bit of, on the handles, they have this kind of almost a faceted look to them. And again, that was to kind of bounce the light around and relate a little bit to the tile, which is this angular or skewed trapezoid pieces, and connect that. It connects, it's the same thing in the bathroom.
Okay.
To kind of pull that detail throughout. But the rectangular escutcheon was important to relate to the poles.
Do you recall the manufacturer?
M-Tech.
M-Tech. So they make those.
Those are M-Tech, and the hinges are Baldwin.
And so we have, who do we have right here?
This is Oscar Wilde. This is a friend of mine did a number of these paintings, not the one in the bed alcove, but this one in Maryland. And there's another one around here somewhere that he did. Les Leffingwell is a friend of mine, and he did these 50 years ago.
That's 50 years old?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
50 years ago, in the 60s.
Are we missing anything else on this unit?
How to do lights over a table when you have a concrete ceiling you can't drill into.
Okay.
So I ran the feed. There's going to be rolling shades behind the drop that runs along there.
Oh, but great point. So
I did the drop to hide the rolling shades, but also I wanted to provide light over this table, and I wanted this table jammed pretty close to the windows so you feel like you're almost outside. So I ran the power in the drop, and then this is just a three-port canopy, they call it, but I ran then, because I did want 3 lights here, and then I just ran, those are called swag hooks.
Swag hooks?
Swag hooks, but they're matte brass, and they typically, like if you had a ceiling light over your dining room table, but the junction box was in the wrong spot, wasn't really over the table, you would put a swag hook in.
Okay.
Usually they don't look like this. They're kind of less good looking. But these are very minimal intentionally, but they are meant to line up right over the table. And it's a way to bring the light out and over. You could also raise them. They unscrew, and you could like raise each of these lights up.
Oh, nice. So if you wanted a different height.
6 feet high, for example, the cable, it works.
This seems just right. This seems like the right height.
I wanted these lower so when you're standing up, you see past them.
That's why I like it, because for me, they're below my vision.
Yeah.
They're right below my sight of eyesight, so it's right below there.
So you still get the treetops, the lake, you get the buildings, of course, and they don't obscure your view.
Line of sight is what I was trying to say.
They're
right below my line of sight.
Yeah.
Okay. I like the mirror back here.
Oh,
I really like this mirror and the mirror right in the front, because you've made it so no one needs that piece of furniture. It's built into the home.
Right. This one was meant to be, if you're working here and you're cleaning, you're washing the dishes or whatever, you still got a view.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of this one. So that when you're here, normally you're looking at a kind of not a great wall. The other thing is I wanted to terminate the tile in a way that was rational. And so I wanted the view, but I also wanted a way to stop the tile rather than just slam it up to the mirror.
Got it.
So I extended just enough of what the filler trim was here on the cabinets on this wall, just to create a shallow shelf.
Well, you created this shelf, you created a way to hide the under
Way to hide the lighting, yes.
Plus a way to do the mirror. It's that combination of thought that really pulled this off well. This feels like you're in a multi-million-dollar home, and then you step away and, well, yeah, I'm in a studio.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like a studio.
Yes.
That was my defining goal. It can't feel like a studio where you're right next to the bed and where you got little windows at the end of the room. You know, it should feel like any home. I mean, why should a studio be less of a home than a 12,000 square foot home? It's very livable. Yes. I can tell you that already in the short time I've been here. It's not even quite 100% done, but it is so comfortable. It's very cool to get up in the morning and you can see the lake.
Yeah.
But you're not really in the rooms that are at the window.
Yeah.
Where the lake view is. And if you wanted to stay up late at night, you can still watch the TV if you want.
That's right there.
You know, if you can't go to sleep and you need some noise or whatever, put you to sleep. it really functions well as far as, it did what I was hoping it would do. And I've only been here a month or so, but
it's perfect. I think you really accomplished that. I've been watching it throughout the whole stage, and you put so much time and effort and thought in everything.